Hi, Adam at Pink Parsnip here again, and in this video, it's part 2 of how to update your BIOS. So you, at this stage, should have a FAT32 formatted USB with a copy of your latest BIOS from your manufacturer's website. Don't download it from anywhere else, and make sure that when you download the BIOS, you're really careful to read any details that they have put on about other updated BIOSes prior to this one. Quite often, if you've got a really old BIOS, you can't just jump to the latest. You need to do a kind of middle ground first. Also, make sure that you check the exact version of your hardware. So when you go onto the BIOS screen, and this is an ASRock BIOS, you can see here it's showing the exact model of the motherboard, the A320M HDV, but it's the R4.0. It's also showing the current BIOS version, which is P7.40. If you're going to download the latest BIOS, there'll be notes from your manufacturer to say what previous BIOS version is acceptable to upgrade to this one. So on this one, it's P7.40. If the latest BIOS asks you for something newer, you need to change that. Now, when you plug in the USB to your PC, start it normally and make sure you plug the USB into one of the motherboard USB sockets, not one of the case ones. Start the PC up and start tapping the delete key. That delete key will take you into the BIOS. Now, when you're in the BIOS, before you do the update, there's a few things that I would do. I would first of all recommend that you disable security device support on your PC. This might seem a bit odd, but it can cause a bit quirky behaviors, particularly on ASRock boards. Gigabyte, MSI, and ASUS aren't so bad, but it's certainly worth doing if you're going to be doing a BIOS update. So disable device security support. It's also worthwhile mentioning that when you do this BIOS update, every single thing that you do is going to be reset. Once you've disabled the security support, you'll need to press F10, save changes and exit, and restart the PC. And again, tap the delete key to get into the BIOS. This will have saved the fact that we've turned off TPM and secure boot. Once the PC reboots, it may take a bit longer this time to post because you have just changed a feature in the BIOS. You're going to go back into the BIOS screen. Now, the BIOSes on most motherboards look incredibly similar. This is obviously an ASRock, but if you've got one of those other manufacturers, do not be worried. The next thing you want to do is to flash the BIOS itself. Now, on ASRock, it's called Instant Flash. On your motherboard, it may have a slightly different name. It's almost certainly going to have the word BIOS or Flash within it. Go to Instant Flash. It will then tell you about BitLocker. Make sure that you have a note of your BitLocker encryption. It's usually saved against your Windows account or your Microsoft account that you have linked to your Windows. Once you're confident you back that up, click yes, and it will automatically find the update file that you've put on your USB, assuming it is the correct BIOS for your motherboard and you have put it on a FAT32 drive. Once you're confident, click yes. This is now going to update the BIOS. I'm going to leave this video recording in real time, which I realize is going to be a little bit boring for people, but it's to actually help you because the BIOS update can take a little while and it can be really tempting if that percentage meter stops moving to turn your PC off. It is so important that during a BIOS update, you do not power down your PC. You don't want a power cut. You don't want anyone knocking out the power lead or accidentally turning it off. If you do that, there is a very high chance you could ultimately brick your motherboard, which means your system will be unusable until you purchase and fit a new motherboard. So just take your time, go and make yourself a cup of tea, have a drink, relax. It will be fine. If it's the first time you've ever done this, it can be a little bit scary. I personally have flashed hundreds of BIOSes. And I still get a tiny bit nervous, even though I know exactly what I'm doing, because just in case this was to crash during the BIOS flash. If you've got a really advanced chipset or a newer chipset, even if it did crash, there are some things you can do. If you've got an older board like this, an A320 or an A520 or a B450 or some of the H610s from the Intel chipset, then you really want to make sure that this goes through as complete as possible. So what we've done so far, just to recap, we have flashed the USB with the correct BIOS file. We've matched it in with our hardware. We've turned off security. We then reset, saved that changes, reset the PC, re-entered the BIOS, and we're now flashing the BIOS. This is probably going to take approximately 5 minutes on most PCs, probably a little bit less. And bear in mind, once the BIOS has flashed and the process is complete, it is going to reset everything within your BIOS. So if you had things like XMP enabled, above 4G decoding, resizable bar, if you'd set custom fan curves or set how your fans operate, whether it was on PWM, whether it was on auto, whether it was on DC current mode, all of those will need to be reset because ultimately this is going to go to a vanilla state. But the reason why you are probably doing this BIOS update is one of two things. Either, potentially three things actually. Either you're getting system instability and you've looked on your manufacturer's website and it has said that there's better stability, particularly Windows 11 and things like XMP and memory profiles. Two, you're updating your CPU. Now, if you're updating your CPU, make sure you update the BIOS on your old CPU first. You don't want to take off your CPU cooler, take out your CPU, put your new one in, put your cooler back on, turn it on, and the PC won't post. That's because you have to update the BIOS so it can read that latest CPU. And obviously, it's always worthwhile checking that your motherboard will support the CPU that you're going to buy prior to buying it. The third reason could be due to games. The biggest one of this and the biggest culprit is Call of Duty. They have this latest update that's come around in summer of 2026, and so many people are seeing this attestation error. You need to update your BIOS. In my honest opinion, it's absolutely ridiculous, and I think they need to patch it. The minimum requirement should absolutely be TPM and secure boot. But that could be the reason. Once it's done, it will say program success or something similar. Press enter, and the PC will reboot again. This time it will definitely take longer because it's the first time it's ever done memory training or anything like that with this BIOS. However, you want to be tapping that delete key to get into the BIOS the moment it's posted. Now, it may post 3 or 4 times. It may not just do it in one single boot. So if it shows the logo of your manufacturer but doesn't go into the BIOS, please do not panic. Now, if you've got a speaker buzzer on your motherboard, just listen out for that single beep. If you don't have a buzzer, you may have LEDs. But eventually, you should get into the BIOS, maybe after up to 4 different boots. And that's because we've just updated a serious bit of software to your main system. And the BIOS is effectively almost like a mini operating system that lives on the motherboard prior to Windows or Linux, and it tells the PC how to behave. But after effectively on this one, and we're doing this in real time, almost 50 seconds of different boots, we should get into the BIOS. And there we go. We're now on version P10.50, and we can now update our CPU, set XMP, and turn on security again. And you can see it's actually enabled straight away. So there you go, guys. I hope that helps, and good luck. Any questions, give us a shout.